Good morning, everyone. I trust you are well. Hello, we're here once again, Saturday morning, kicking it off for a bit of fun, a bit of enjoyment. Although a few little comments in just before we do an initial announcement, a bit disappointed that Dominic at 10 to 10 this morning already put a comment in the box. It said, "Morning, gents. Nothing like watching the Zig and Zag show to kickstart the weekend." Thanks, Dom. Guys, look, welcome. Good
which
morning.
one, Dom? I don't know if you want to just let us know which one you think is Zig and which one you think is Zag. Yeah. Quite interesting. And I suppose it could have been the Muppets. Could have been worse.
It could have been worse. Anyway, guys, look, welcome to the Property CEO support sessions. My name is Richie Clapson, as I'm sure you are well aware, but of course some of you could be new. And I'm here with Ian Child, the other half of Property CEO. So it's good to have you here. So what exactly are support sessions? What are we doing here? Well, these are regular 45-minute sessions. We aim for 45 minutes, absolute latest an hour. You'll be away by 11 o'clock to go and do what you want to do. And of course, it's sunny in most of the country, so hopefully that'll be okay. And we're here to try and inject a bit of positive energy into the world right now, and into your lives as well as ours. Isn't that right, Ian?
It certainly is. Now, some of you may not be familiar with us, so if you're new, let me just tell you a little bit about us. Basically, we train people how to become property developers. So we're generally not talking large scale developments. It's typically first time developers, people looking to do kind of smaller scale projects. And our job is to help them make sure that they find the best opportunities and don't make any expensive mistakes. Now, we decided to run these sessions for a number of reasons. First and foremost, it's because we may be able to give people some tips that could help them protect their livelihoods in what are some pretty challenging times at the moment. But we also know that with this recession on the horizon, it's kind of the perfect time for people to get ready for the opportunities that are inevitably going to come up as we move forward. So one of the things that we've learned over way too many years is that the people that are going to be successful at the end of the recession are the people that are taking action now, kind of right at the start. So rather than wait for those events to unfold, they're taking action now.
Guys, just give us a quick hand wave if you can hear and see us. Excellent. So just notice, Anil, you put a comment in, you said you can't hear you guys. Just check your volume, Anil, because it looks like everyone else can. So it's probably your end, my friend. So hopefully you can check that and see to get that right. Anyway.
Switch it off and switch it on again.
Say again.
Switch it off and switch it on again.
Yeah, maybe log back out and come back in. So anyway, as Ian said, there's a lot of doom and gloom out here, but we're here. This is a half glass full zone. That's exactly what it is. So it's a good place to come. Try and get you guys on the other side. We're happy to take questions as we go through, so please put them in the chat box and we'll pick them up. We have had some questions which have come in throughout the week, which is terrific. More than happy for you to send them in beforehand, and we're going to kick off with some of those. Now, just to start with, unfortunately, we were going to have Dwayne Walker in from Primer Olds BAS. Dwayne had to text me yesterday. He, unfortunately, the poor fellow's put his back out. So either that or a support excuse. He just doesn't want to come on the show. But no, look, big apologies, guys. Dwayne's put his back out. We send our wishes to him. Hopefully he's better soon. I guess we could have done it with him led down. I'm assuming that's what he's got to do. We could have had a camera over the top and he could have answered the question. So, I mean, I don't think he's putting maximum effort in, but he has promised as soon as he's well, he'll come back. So maybe next weekend he'll come back. If it's not next weekend, you've also asked us to bring along one of our students at some point to talk about their journey. So we might try and do that Saturdays. The format, obviously, we do one of these on a Tuesday, one on a Saturday. Generally, on a Saturday, we try and get a guest on. Please also, if you've got anyone else that you'd like to get on, any other guests that you want to mention, that you'd like us to bring on, any disciplines, engineers, architects, insurance people, solicitors, let us know. Put that in the chat box today, and we'll do our best to bring those people along to give you guys what you want. So that's really good. Really good. Some great comments coming in. Morning, guys. Good morning. By the way, guys, some of you are still putting suggestions in for the name of the show, which is brilliant. There is a competition. Do you want to mention that, Ian? Competition.
Yeah, there is a competition. There is a prize. We'll be making a decision next week. So it's going to be your last chance to get your names in. We've had some fantastic names in. Some of them are even printable, but it's just great. There's going to be we've got a few favorites, but the decision time will be early next week, so we can't wait to find out who's won. But please do, yeah, just pop your name, your suggestion into the chat box, or ping us an email, and we'll make sure it's added to the list, and you get a chance to win.
And you can do as many suggestions as you want. As I can see, Gavin keeps popping a whole stack of suggestions in the chat box already. Got some questions coming in, so thank you for putting your questions in, and we're going to try and cover as many as we can. So yeah, look, there's a stack of you on, people still signing in, which is terrific. Can't mention you, I'd love to, but I mean, just picking a few names: Alison, Andy, hello, Ashley, Becky, Bob, Chris. There's two Chris's, so you know which one you are. Clive, good morning. Clive, David, good morning. Yeah, David, I know you have some specific questions for Dwayne, so don't log off. We're going to do some great stuff, and Dwayne will be back, so we'll hold those questions over. Anyone that submitted us questions this week, we'll hold those over for Dwayne when they come in. Hitan, hello. Jacqueline, good morning. Jane, Jim, good morning. Joe's on. Karen, Malcolm, hello Malcolm. Martin, hello Martin. I was speaking to him the other day. Nina, hello Nina. I think Nina's put a question in. Nina, we're going to pick that up in a minute. Blimey, Richard, Rebecca. I'm going down the list. Will's on. Morning, Will. Srina, Roma, Yoko. I can't see my mother. She's probably busy.
She probably comes under a different name, I reckon, when she logs in.
Yeah, she doesn't want to be associated with me anymore. But Dominic says, is the prize a book? Dom, you don't know what the prize is. It might not be a book. Might be better than a book.
Could be better. But what's better than a book?
Yeah, absolutely. Right, guys. So we kick off with some questions. Let me just lower those hands and let's kick off with some questions. So, a few questions that's coming in the week. I'm going to pick a few of them up, and then we'll dive into some that's coming into the chat box as we go through. So Richard, and I can see Richard, you're out there. Good morning. Hopefully you're enjoying yourself in sunny Sussex this morning. Two questions from Richard. Let's pick two up here straight away. First question from Richard. He says, will there be sufficient supply lines for builders affecting both cost and our timescales? Well, I'd love to give a categorical answer to say yes, there will, or no, there won't. The truth is, Richard, we don't know, okay? And the whole situation is largely unfolding. You know, the position out there for builders can be quite difficult, probably for certain materials. Now, this may change as we go over time, because generally the supply of building materials that's come from overseas, which could be the initial problem, okay, some of that would have been in the country. There would have been stock in the country, and that may take some time before that stock to run out, before there's a problem. So there might be a problem that comes on a few months down the line. Having said that, some of those overseas countries are getting back to work and doing stuff. There are definitely some builders merchants, local builders merchants, who are not stocking up. You know, a lot of them have closed down for a period of time, and so I hear a lot of builders who are struggling with certain materials. Although having said that, I do hear some other builders who are being very inventive and creative, finding alternatives and finding alternative sources for materials. So I do expect there to be some problems, Richard. I do expect there to be some issues, but I don't expect them to be that significant, okay? Having said that, this, the whole situation is unfolding. Let's assume that we get a partial lockdown lifted in the coming weeks rather than months. Some of those supply businesses will go back to work and will regenerate. You can see that a lot of companies do double shifting. They try and get things going. Those companies that supply materials, particularly the UK companies, and indeed it's going to be the same overseas, commercially, they need to replenish their stocks, their funds, their books. So they will probably double shift and manufacture as much as they can to get out there. So it may have a short-term effect. Will it have a long-term effect? Personally, and this is just an opinion, Richard, I don't think so. But let's watch this space. If we feel that there is, then we'll let you know. And obviously, a few of you remember we had a project manager on a few weeks ago. You guys have asked us to bring him back at some point. So maybe in a few weeks' time, a month's time, we'll bring Dan Stiles back from DDS Consulting and Syndicate and get his opinion, because he's much closer to it. If you want, let us know in the chat box. I can bring a builder on. We can bring a contractor on here. And if you want, you get the answer from the horse's mouth. So if you're interested, let us know, and I'll get a contractor on here and we can have a chat with him. So please let us know in the chat box if you'd like to get us to get a contractor on. As long as he's wearing his hard hat, it'll be fine, I'm sure. Richard, I'm going to pick up another question from you. So you are entitled to put as many questions in as you want, and you get a mention when you put a question in, so that can't be bad. You sort of somehow feel famous. Lending terms just got tighter, making it more challenging. And are private investors and other high net worth individuals nervous and withdrawn from the market? Okay, there's a number of questions in there. Let's first of all just pick up commercial lending, Richard. Commercial lending, again, is on a bit of a roller coaster. It's up and down a little bit. Richard says, yes, please, can we get a commercial contractor in? Yes, we will do. And obviously, a few other people ask for it. If it's just you, Richard, we won't. But if others ask, we might. So the commercial lending, they're on a bit of a roller coaster. They're up and down. And, if you talk to your broker, they'll tell you, well, this week they're offering that. Next week they're offering this. They're trying to find their feet. They're trying to establish what the norm is or where they're going to go. And obviously, these companies have got to, control the risk. Now, what generally has been happening, the rates have not gone through the roof, so the rates are reasonably under control. At the moment, the most of the adjustment has gone into the loan to value. So whereas you might have got a 70% loan to value, they're down at 60. So you're going to put more cash in it. That makes perfect sense. If you were offering on a project now, and I've told you, you're not allowed, none of you are allowed to offer on a project now, although I do know some of you out there. Let's just see if our good friend Amit's on. He's not, but one of our students he said, I've offered. Not good. So you're not allowed to offer on a project at the moment because the market's going down. You don't know where the bottom is. So please, please, please don't offer. I'm not going to tell you exactly when to offer. But don't offer at this moment in time. You're going to monitor it a little bit yourself. So anyway, the loan to value is being pegged back a bit, and that's fine. I think when the confidence comes back in, and we've talked about this, where the market now starts to level out before it starts to rise up, these lenders want to lend. What we can tell you, in fact, you know this yourself, there's more money out there than there is deals. Okay, you've only got to open your front door. There's more money out there than there is deals. You can go down your street, and this might sound like I'm just being a bit comical, but actually, if you went and knocked on 50 doors to the left and 50 doors to the right, I guarantee you'll find some money if everyone was absolutely truthful that you want to invest. If you went 500 doors to the left and 500 doors to the right, would you find a deal? You're going to find less deals than you are money. There's more money out there always is. So I'm talking about private money, and private money always ends up somewhere, whether it's big in commercial pension funds or wherever it is. So there's much more money out than there is deals. So the lenders will be hungry for your deals when you come out of the upturn. So you guys out there that are doing development now, or some of you have just started that journey, then and actually, yes, a big shout out to Debs is on, I think. And Debs says, Debs is our newest student. Debs signed up yesterday. So welcome, Debs. And I understand Richard's listening in the background. So Debs and Richard, good morning to you two. Welcome on board. Welcome to the family. But you guys that are training now and getting ready, and you're ready for that upturn, those lenders are going to be hungry for your business. And if we pick up the second part of that question, Richard, about high net worth individuals, nervous and withdrawn from the market. Yeah, right now they will be. Okay. Don't start going out and ringing a high net worth individual every 5 minutes that you've got as an investor and say, fancy investing in the market, fancy investing in property. They don't want to do anything. Why'd they need to? The high net worth individuals, they're going to sit tight for a minute and they're going to see where the market is. What we are saying to people at the moment, saying to our students, is just keep the relationship going. Do not ring up that high net worth individual and say, do you fancy, you ready to invest yet? Are you up for it, etc., etc. When I do this is me pretending I'm on a telephone. You've heard this before, so it's all about, anyway, you got it.
We're getting the hang of it now. Yep.
They're getting the hang of it, you guys, aren't you? Zig and zag. I can't believe Dom said zig and zag. That's outrageous. Anyway, the high net worth individuals, if you keep that relationship going with them, they will come back to the market. So don't keep pushing it for now, but just keep in touch with them. And there'll be a point when actually they want to reinvest. Now, what do they want to invest in? They've got to invest in something. Stocks and shares? Not sure. That's not going to be that comfortable for a while. What about companies? That's interesting. Maybe bonds. Maybe they want to go that route. But if they're interested in a decent return that you can get out of development, maybe an 8 to 10% return, and it's bricks and mortar, which they can touch and feel and see. And traditionally, it's always been a strong investment asset. They'll come back. So I think hold your nerve, sit tight, keep the relationship going, and they will come back. Richard, hopefully that's answered those questions there. Let's just pick up another one here. This is an interesting question that's come in the week from MCell. And I think this is really good. My biggest challenge right now, and we have asked for some of you guys to let us know your biggest challenge. He says, my biggest challenge right now is confidence in myself. I need to feel that I can build a strong team. I lost a lot of money to a bad builder. Me too. Join the club. Lesson learned. Me too. Join the club. Need to work with the numbers better. So the question there in itself, I guess, Ian, maybe you can answer this one in terms of, MCell's lost its confidence, needs to build a stronger team, needs to work better with the numbers. Have you got some comments on that for everyone out there as well as MCell?
Yeah, for sure. I think well, it's quite a common scenario, I think. Basically, MCell, you've got these kind of battle scars of experience. And to be honest, that's going to be quite a big help going forward because, you're less likely to take bigger risks. You'll be more cautious, once bitten, twice shy, and so on. So I think, you need to do your due diligence. We all need to do our due diligence on the team, on the contractors in particular. But I think when it comes to that confidence, I think the first thing to recognize is that I think just about every self-made billionaire on the planet has lost a few bob during the course of their careers as well. Some of them have had some quite spectacular failures before they went on to be successful. And there's kind of two things that made them successful. They were, one, prepared to take risks, and secondly, didn't give up. So you can't start a business venture without taking risk, and of course property is no different. So occasionally you do find yourself on the receiving end of the downside, and that's kind of one of the outcomes that goes with the territory. And I think the trick is to kind of view it as an investment. It's an investment in your kind of journey to success. The reason that those billionaires went on to be successful, it's not in spite of those early losses. You could argue that it's almost because of them, because of the lessons they learned, along the way when things went wrong. So you kind of only fail when you give up. And I think many people do fail and give up. They kind of get into that situation and then think, well, no, this is too tricky. I'm not going to do that again. But actually, the hallmark of success generally is that you pick yourself up and you go again. So I would be kind of inclined to wear your battle scars with a little bit of pride, except that it's kind of part and parcel of being a successful business person, in fact, in any walk of life, whether it's property or otherwise. And I think as a result, you're going to be, far more likely to avoid making the same mistakes again. I think another thing you might want to think about, and I know that we've mentioned this before, and we're going to dedicate a little bit of time to it, I think, in another session, talking about non-exec advisors, because one of the things that can be really helpful when you're in this situation and you want to avoid making mistakes is having somebody as an advisor that perhaps has got skin in the game. They perhaps take a share of the profits after your first project, but they're there as a voice of experience. There's somebody from the industry, somebody with the right background and skill sets. Not that you're going to be troubling them every 5 minutes, but they're somebody that's going to be a sounding board for your decisions, people that can act because they've been in the industry. They can recommend some good people to work with, so perhaps you then avoid some of the ones that are less reliable, and they also obviously are able to be at the end of a phone if you've got a problem and you need some help. So it might well be that as you build your team, trying to establish a kind of non-exec advisor role for perhaps somebody that's got a few grey hairs, somebody that's been around the block a few times in the world of property development, they are going to perhaps help you avoid making mistakes going forward. But I would say it's kind of part and parcel of it. Learn from the mistake, do your due diligence, pick yourself up, and go again.
MCell, hopefully that answered your question. Ritesh has been particularly cheeky this morning. He said, MCell, you could boost your confidence by buying and wearing a shirt from Primark like Richie. Nothing wrong with Primark.
They're going to come back in, aren't they? If you keep wearing them, they'll come back in. I'm sure of it.
I think wrong with them. Absolutely perfect. Ritesh, you should do the same, my friend. I know a lot of you have said good morning, so good morning to all of you that said good morning in there. I can't mention everyone, but that's great. Richard said thank you for his answer, so that's terrific. Right, picking up a couple of other questions here. Just bear with me. There was one I saw here. Okay, Raj just put a question in here. Morning, Raj. Raj says, if you're developing a property into 4 flats and are calculating the GDV, the gross development value out there, could you please remind me how to calculate the lease value to add to the GDV? Yes, I can, Raj, if you've got a pen and paper ready. So there is a value in the lease. Interesting at the moment, though, because just prior to COVID, there's been a lot of discussion going on about limiting lease values and the amount that you can charge leaseholders when you own the freehold. Now, there's no law on this at the moment, but the CML, the Council for Mortgage Lenders, have advised, with a bit of persuasion from the government, to limit it to 0.1% of the flat value. Okay, so if it's 150,000, it's 150 quid that you're going to better charge. Now, that's not the rules. You don't have to do that, but there are a number of mortgage lenders who will not lend. So we had a scheme recently we put out into the market, and there was, I don't know, half a dozen flats, similar sort of thing, and half of those were fine, absolutely no problem at all. 2 or 3 others, we had a couple of queries. We had one buyer pull out completely because they couldn't get the mortgage. Someone else changed mortgage lenders because they wouldn't, they wouldn't do it. So they went to another mortgage lender that wasn't limiting it to the 0.1%. We stuck to our guns on that, and we held out on that one. We've had another scheme where we've decided that we wanted to move it a bit quicker, so we limited it to 0.1% on some of the units to get those out there. So there is a little bit of a discussion. So look that up, do a bit of research on the CML site, speak to your solicitor. They normally, a good residential conveyancing solicitor will understand and know where that is in the marketplace at the moment, because obviously they're dealing with it every day. But the calculation, Raj, is you're going to take the number of units, multiplied by the freehold per unit. So let's say that was £150. So 4 times £150 by a number of years. Okay, so if that was 20 years, you're going to have 4 times 150 times 20. Okay, what's that? Let's calculate that out. So if it's 4 times 150 times 20, that's £12,000. There's your freehold value.
God, now, it's just like having Carol Vorderman on. That's very impressive.
Big button calculator in seconds. So I can't control everything here and do numbers in my head and answer Raj's question. So I need a bit of technology, big button calculator. So the thing is there, Raj, that's based on 20 years, because people will look at 20-year payback, and in 20 years they own that freehold. They're long-term investments. You can get 30 years, you can get 20 or 30 years. The interest in freehold at the moment is cooled a bit. I've got a couple of freeholds, if you're interested, Raj, to sell. The market's cooled a bit on it. So just be careful. One thing I would say is make sure that is extra. You're not relying on that freehold to do the deal, to make the deal stack to your 20% on GDV. Raj, hopefully that has answered that question. Let's pick up another one. Malcolm's put a suggestion in for the name. Thank you, Malcolm, for that. Interesting. Martin, morning, Martin. Martin said oh, this is someone he would like us to bring in. So this is not a question, but give us a shout on this one if you'd like this. Martin says the myths of building control would be helpful. So maybe a building control officer would be worth a guest appearance. He's thinking there. Let us know if you'd like us to bring a building control officer in. I'm pretty certain you won't get local authority. They won't do this sort of thing, but we could probably get a private building officer in. So I know a few of those. So if you'd like that, let us know in the chat box. If it's just you, Martin, we won't. But if Loss will, then we will. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, question from Ritesh. Let's pick this one up. There's some chatter about off-site modular as a way forward. What are your thoughts on this? What is the effect of COVID-19 on the future of off-site? Mind you, it sounds like a magazine article coming on here, doesn't it? Ritesh, I think what's interesting here, and I laugh and I smile every time someone says modular, because many new people into this industry, and I've been here 37 years, go, oh, wow, modular. Wow, they're going to do modular stuff. Oh, it's the way forward. It's the future. Well, we've been saying it for years in this country, and we've never fully embraced it. So I've yet to see modular be the future. We are very traditional in this country, and we do like bricks and mortar. Just the way we are. Our climate to some extent suits it, but you know, we have these fluctuations of temperature which sort of suits that type of construction. And the reality is, still to this day, and it's bizarre because it shouldn't be, you can still generally build cheaper in bricks and mortar than you can in modular. Everyone thinks modular is great because it turns up and it goes up very quickly. The reality normally, and the market does change because the market rate fluctuates at different times. Normally, modular is more expensive to build, but normally it's quicker. So if you want to build quicker and there's an advantage, and sometimes there might be from a funding perspective, because if you can build quicker, you can get out quicker, you can get onto the market. It might be important to hit the market at a certain time, then it might be worth paying that premium. There are different types of modular. Just to very quickly say, there's what you call volumetric, where you bring whole units. Think of a big, almost shipping container, and you can actually build houses out of shipping containers. I know some people that do it. Or there's what you call a panelized system. So you bring in individual walls and stick them together. Lots of fors and against for either of those, speed, cost, etc., etc. There's about quality because a lot of it's built in the factory. There's much bigger lead-in times, so you can't get onto site that quick. You'd have less opportunity to change your mind because these things are built often with all the services and everything in place. Lots of fors and against. It really should be the way forward, you know, Ritesh. It really should be. Reality, I think it would be a minority part of this business for many years. Yeah, I think certainly it'll see me out, and I don't think it'll be massive. I think for individual projects, it could stack up. If you're doing building on open space, you know, airspace, and you're putting in a penthouse on top of an existing building, that can work very well because you have far less requirements for scaffolding. You can get the building up really quick, close it on a weekend, drop a big unit on the top. It works extremely well there. Schools use a lot of modular to build extensions because they've got this 6-week gap in the summer, and they go in and they smash it out and they do it. I think in housing, it's going to take some time. There's a lot of timber housing coming in on panelized systems, and that's growing in its interest out there. So I don't think it's the immediate future. I think it is the long-term future, but I still think it's going to take a time to come in. How is it affected with COVID-19? You know, I think we go back. It links back to Ritesh, to the question that Richard asked about supply of building materials. I think it could be that you could get modular quicker, but the reality, in my opinion, and it's just an opinion because I don't know what all these factories are doing, that majority of these modular factories will probably have shut down around the world, okay, because we get stuff from overseas quite a bit for this. And if they have shut down, they've got to gear back up, you know, and they're going to furlough staff, they've got to gear back up and get into place. So, you know, they could take longer for them to get back up and running than get a few bricklayers on site and build a few walls. So I think actually modular might have a slightly longer lead-in period as we come out of COVID-19. So definitely, if it's of interest to you, worth exploring. The bottom line, I'd say, as a developer, you don't give a monkeys, okay? If you want to be really commercially harsh, you want to build something that will sell, and what will happen is you're going to be driven by cost and time. So work with your project manager as a CEO. How well, obviously, you know, well, not all of you, we've talked. There's a lot of people out here we haven't talked. Some people are already developers. Some people are thinking about getting into this. But when we teach people, it's about being a CEO. It's about using the expertise of your team to make those decisions, whether you should go modular, panelized, volumetric, or traditional. And that will be driven by the market at that time when you go out to tender. And you can tender both. You can tender both on a scheme, and you'll see where your price comes in and you can compare it. So don't be set on a certain direction. Just think about it going forward. Ritesh, hopefully that answers your question there. Okay. I've got another question here from Richard. Ian, I think this could be one for you. This is a bit about overwhelm. Okay. Richard, so I feel overwhelmed working with Ian. Although I'm having a respite at the moment, like respite care, because I'm actually in the office. So I can come to the office because there's no one else here. And it's a bit like respite care that I don't have Ian here. So someone else is looking after him. That's his family at home. They have to put up with him. And the minute I don't want to, I just turn the screen off and he's gone.
And it's a two-way street though, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
And I think I've worked out actually that the problem we had earlier on with the sound was actually an electrical problem with your shirt. I think it's the crackle of rayon that has interfered with some of the audience's equipment. So apologies.
Well, Anil had the problems, not come back on. So Anil, you may be listening to this on record, hopefully on YouTube. So apologies, but hopefully you'll get your sound sorted for next time. Okay, Richard's question, and I think this is one for you, Ian, and this is interesting. I really like this. This is quite important. And he said, with so many webinars, Zoom networking events, WhatsApp groups, Facebook groups, there is an overwhelming amount of events. Richard, you're absolutely right. I don't do WhatsApp. I don't entertain that. I'm in a group with some WhatsApp groups running, and I tell you, I can turn my phone off and then I can turn it back on. I mean, let's just have a look at it now. I've got 113 notifications of WhatsApp messages. I got more important things to do in my life. Anyway, so, and he goes on to say, news, ideas, conversations flying about. There's alerts. He said alerts come in before 5 a.m. until after I've gone to bed. Now, I know one can simply turn these alerts off, but he said, and this is interesting, he said there's a lot of useful material and knowledge to be found in this. So the temptation to keep up with everyone's news and conversations has become hugely time consuming. I'm overwhelmed time-wise. Any suggestions?
Wow. Well, yeah, I think one of the biggest things we can all do is try and create some dedicated time for certain tasks. Many people would know that I advocate reading emails just twice a day, kind of once in the morning and once in the afternoon. And it's just because it's so much more efficient than kind of reacting to email alerts when emails come in. And I would be doing the same thing with your other alerts. Is there a way in which you can defer looking at the alerts until you're ready to, so you do them all in one go, rather than kind of react? Because we've got so many. We've got texts, we've got our social media alerts, we've got the email alerts. These are happening all the time. And we end up in a situation where we're just not kind of being able to deal with it. We get an email alert, we read the email, it's something we've got to deal with later, so we mark it as unread, and guess what? We read it again a bit later on. So it's all about doing it efficiently. So I think there's probably a way of making it more efficient for yourself by trying to sort of compartmentalize your time and just doing it at certain times of the day, having a routine for doing it. I think you also need to be a bit selective, and it's probably a case of accepting that there's some information that you just might have to live without. I mean, there's too much information in the world for us to consume it all anyway. So we have to, in any event, cherry pick the best sources, and we kind of need to just kind of stick with them. So I think the combination of those two things will probably help you out. Maybe the final point would be it's probably about taking action, because getting alerts is great. Getting all this information coming in is fantastic, and now is a great time to be getting information in, because of course the world is a very interesting place right now, and quite a fast moving one. But of course, if we're not careful, we can spend all our time getting the information in and not enough time actually taking action on the back of it. So I would just make sure that you've kind of got that balance right. Just making sure that the information you're getting in, you're actually putting it to some use, rather than just kind of collecting information for information's sake. So hopefully that helps.
Yoko says, Richie, you are horrible with Ian. Yoko, yeah. I'm not.
Frankly, Yoko's not the only one that's mentioned that.
And Dominic goes on to say, there is only one show in town, the Ian Child Show. Richard said, thanks for the answer. Look, Yoko, I don't know. Yoko, I'm after a little bit of personal advice here. Yoko, this is just for you. Do you think I should put Ian on furlough? Let me know in the chat box. He likes it. He doesn't mind. He's a bit of banter. Yes, the building control officer. Malcolm says. Someone else said yes. Richard said yes. Yvonne, I think, says yes. I'm assuming it's the building control officer. So we will try and get someone in there. I've got a question here from Malcolm Tanner that's coming in the week. So Malcolm, you're on today. You still on? Yes, you are, Malcolm. Hello. Hopefully you are well up there at Birmingham Way. Malcolm says, and this is an interesting one. Malcolm says, can you clarify what types of grants and loans are available to business? Well, one thing I can tell you, because I've explored it to the nth degree, there are no grants or loans available for you to go and buy a new car. The government don't do any of that, unfortunately. I've had a look at that, but they don't do any. So now, obviously, what you need to do here is speak to your accountant. Your accountant most accountants should be up to speed. Our accountant has emailed us regularly and told us what's going on with the government, because these schemes are chopping and changing. I have to say, I've heard some very interesting stories of these, of how easy or how difficult it is to get. I heard of one company, it was a fireworks shop, actually applied for a loan. 3 days later, they got a £10,000 check. It was a firework company. And someone said, well, they're a firework company. What do you mean they're not selling fireworks at the moment? Well, they're not supposed to anyway. You know, this is not the time of year. They got a £10,000 grant. I heard of another company, very legitimate, who just couldn't get it, and they got kicked back several times. Now, there are lots of help out there by the government. I don't profess to be an expert, but there are things. So I just scribbled a few notes. You've got the furlough job retention scheme, which, as I said, Yoko's still waiting for that advice about whether to furlough Ian. So we've got, we've got the job retention scheme. There is a deferral of VAT. It's a deferral. You'll have to pay it eventually, but there is a deferral. I think it's set from March to June. Be very careful of when that period is, but talk to your accountant about that and how you have to get that into place. There is a rates holiday. So you have a rating holiday if you pay business rates, that you can defer some of that. I don't know whether it's deferral, holiday, whatever it is. Holiday is a dangerous word that the government keep using. There is the business interruption loan scheme, where you can borrow certain amounts up to 3 to 6 years, nothing to pay for 12 months, something like that. You have to apply for it. Now, some of those schemes are in certain sectors, I believe, and there are certain things you've got to do. You're going to have to apply certain information. You've got to show cash flow. You've got to show what your performance of your business is, why you would need it, why it's interrupted you. The banks will do their normal process and checks. I mean, the fireworks shop, how they got through that, I don't know. Maybe that's a bit of an odd one. But you're going to do your normal checks. You've got to prove from a normal business perspective that you need to get this money and why you need it. You will have to pay it back. So be very careful about taking on debt which you think is just a free check. You know, as a business, really, you should be reducing your overheads if you can. And I know that's tough for employees, but you need to be thinking about what's the shape when I come out the other side. You don't want to take on a load of loan, a load of debt, because this isn't necessarily good debt that gets you through. You keep everyone on, you keep all your overheads, and you find out you come the other side, your business is only doing 50% of what it did before you went in. So maybe you've got to think about your overheads as well. If it's essential, then these are lifelines. So there's the business interruption loan scheme. There is the small business grant scheme, which I think is between £10,000 and £25,000. You have to be a business rate payer, I believe, and I believe that's limited to retail, hospitality, and leisure. Difficult for us developers to confirm that we're in that. Maybe if you've got SA and you serve the leisure market, maybe you can get that. So have a think on that. That could be of interest, but go back to your accountant. And I believe there's a new loan coming in, which is called the business bounce back loan. Sounds a bit odd, doesn't it? So that means like they're going to give it to you and then they're going to take it straight away. I'm not quite sure how that works. I believe that's not even announced yet in detail. I believe that comes in on the 4th of May. So that'll come in on Monday. So keep up with your accountant, because these things are changing consistently. So if it's something you need, you genuinely need, speak to your accountant, because you may need their assistance to help you get that into place. Hopefully that helps. Jim's got a question in. Morning, Jim. Good morning. That means Leanne's got the kids. So Jim, well done. You've got the morning off for an hour here. Jim says, morning, chaps. Can you advise the best time of year to begin a development project, or does it even matter? Jim, interesting. Ideally, it doesn't matter at all when you begin a job, albeit if you're doing a new build and you're going in the ground, you don't particularly want to be going into the ground in the winter. Okay. So that's probably one of the requirements. Don't really go in the ground, dig in the ground when it's about to pee with rain, because you're almost certainly going to get delays. Maybe trenches collapse, you're going to get additional costs and so on. So new build, people try and tend to steer clear of the worst weather. Now, having said that, it's more about, Jim, you've got to look at this the other way. It's when you deliver the project into the market. That's the more important thing, okay? Generally, when do people don't buy houses? Now, an estate agent will tell you. We had Andrew Fennell on the other week from Taylor Hill and Bond. You know, talk to your estate agent. They'll give you this answer. But generally, they say the run up to Christmas gets slow. People start thinking about putting baubles on the Christmas tree and lights and so on. That gets a bit slow. January's not that quick. You know, February it starts to pick up. March, then they have a run through to the summer. Everyone disappears on holiday in the summer, not this year, but they tend to go away in the summer. Then they come back in September, you have another little spurt, and as I say, then by Christmas it tails back off again. Now, there's also, it depends on what you're building, because we talk about need and want market. If you're building high-end houses, those people, you know, they're always off skiing. They're not going to be looking at properties in the January, February times. They're definitely going to be gone away nearly all the summer. High net worth individuals tend to disappear. So you've got to understand where your market is. If it's the market where people are moving in because of schools, they're going to want to get in because of term times and stuff like that. So when you apply for term, so it really depends what you're building. So all I'd say, Jim, is look at it the other way round. Look at it when you're going to put it in the market. So that needs some knowledge of the time scale of the project. And then when you're going to put it into the market, and then that would give you an indication of when you're going to start. Hopefully that answers that question. Wow, look at time. It's absolutely flying.
We've had a follow-up question in from Clive on the whole issue of the fireworks company. He says, if the fireworks company can't make their repayments, will they let them off?
I just read it. Clive, I love it. Yeah, will they let them off? Do you get that, guys? Let them off. Fireworks, let them off. Yep.
Yeah, well, thanks for that. And just for the benefit of everybody, that is the sort of class of humour that we're looking for in this program, not the whole kind of zig and zag stuff that you heard earlier. So yeah. Future reference, keep them coming in.
Yeah. Richard says we have fireworks in our road every Thursday night. All right, Richard, it's not a competition. You know, you don't need to brag about that.
Quite a rough area then.
Yeah, it's a rough area. Yeah, Richard, they're not fireworks, they're guns. Malcolm says the bounce back loan is 100% backed by the government. Yes, it is, Malcolm, but I say the details are coming out. Alicia's put a little smiley face in. Morning, Alicia. Spoke to you late last night, so hopefully you are well. Okay, right. Let's just see if we can squeeze a couple of other questions in. Sorry, guys, just jumping around. Okay, Nigel's got a question. Morning, Nigel. Nigel says, morning, guys. Looking at a potential deal for co-living, co-working. Excellent. It will have a commercial element of hotel and SA rooms and office space. Wow. Can you advise how to work out the value GDV of the office space and the hotel rooms in order to assess the project? Interesting one. Okay. So if you're selling it, I don't quite know what you're planning to do, Nigel. Sell it, refinance, and hold it. But let's assume you were going to sell it, okay? And you've got so you've got a whole mix of space, and you've got office space, and you've got hotel rooms. You're going to find out what someone will pay for it, and this will come down to yield, okay? So what's the rental value? Now, if you're looking at a serviced office and you're trying to sell a serviced office unit, the yield, you know, the rental values on those are quite strong because you're paying a lot more per square foot for this ease of in and out and a lot more services supplied and so on. Now, if you're looking at an end user, what you will be able to do is either start to dialogue with an end user, look to see what sort of money they're going to pay per square foot, or they're generally going to work in square foot, although often we work in square meters. They're going to look at what sort of value they pay for it. If not, speak to some agents. They'll know the sort of money that someone will pay for a serviced office unit. You can also work it back. So what you can look at, Malcolm, if you need to find out what the yield they're going to look for in that market space, you know, is it 6, 7, 8%? What are they looking for? I don't know the answer to that. So your commercial agents or indeed those operators will tell you what sort of return they're going to look for on their money. You can then work that back to a value. On that basis, that will give you effective GDV for it. If you're going to refinance and hold, and then you're going to run this and occupy this serviced office space, then you're going to have a potential commercial valuation. You need to explore that and see what funders will have the appetite for that, because you're going to have to show a certain occupancy. You know, if you were down on occupancy, you know, then that's going to struggle. But there's probably some occupancy levels that they will work at in that marketplace to fund you. So they might say, yeah, generally we're happy to fund on a basis of a 60 to 70% occupancy in that market space. It may be that they require you to get to a certain occupancy before they release certain funds. Have a look at it. Much the same will apply to the hotels in a very different way, you know, but it's almost the same principles. If an operator is going to pay for a hotel, and there will be operators that will take hotels on or SAs, If you're going to refinance and hold it yourself, it's all the same principles. What do you want out of it? What are you going to have to pay for it? What are you going to get as a commercial valuation? And work all that back. If you were going to sell it on to an operator, the only thing I'd say is any hotel type space, and you talk about hotel stroke SA, if you were going to sell it to an operator, most operators that are established, or there are some SA brands which are growing quite strong, they have very strong brand identity. So they won't just take a product necessarily that you've built and designed. So be very careful there. I operated for quite a number of years, was very instrumental in a big rollout program for Holiday Inn Expresses when they come back into this country some years ago. We used to do office conversions and put Holiday Inn Expresses in them all around the country. But we built precisely to a brand standard. Room sizes, the equipment in the rooms all had to come from their designated suppliers. We used to do pod manufacture of off-site bathrooms, all from designated agreed suppliers. So the brand standards are massively strong. I mean, you can go on there to get a feel for the sort of things they want. Travelodge always used to have, if anyone's interested, pop onto Travelodge site, type in Travelodge brand standards, and you'll find a huge document. It used to be available out there on the net. Whether it's up to date, I don't know, but it gives you a bit of a feel for the sort of things that Travelodge require you to put into their units. So Nigel, I think you've got to explore those end users, or if it's yourself, you've got to decide what you want as a return. All comes back to yields. That in turn translates into a value. Nigel, hopefully that's answered that one. Guys, we've just gone past 1:45. We promised to get you away. I know there's a few other questions that we haven't answered. I do apologize. Lenders, Ritesh says, lenders are quite hesitant with breaching covenants at present. I'm not sure if that's a question or a statement, Ritesh. Okay. Ian, sorry, you're going to say something?
So yeah, I just want to say we had quite a few questions come in over the last few weeks, actually, since we've been talking about some of the opportunities that we see on the horizon. You know, Rich has mentioned quite a few of them during the course of the support sessions. So what's happening in the retail world in the high street, what's happening in the conversion space, permitted development rights, and all of that. And rather than, it's quite a big subject. So rather than sort of take up one or two of these sessions talking specifically about what those opportunities are, what we decided to do was to create a kind of like a training webinar. It's about an hour long, that kind of goes into the whole subject of that in a bit more detail and covers all of the things that we've been talking about. So if you're interested in kind of getting a bit of a lowdown on what the opportunities are as we see them, in terms of the things that we think are going to make be a bit of a game changer for small scale development over the coming months and years, and then some of the tools, I guess, that you can use and the ways that you could go about kind of leveraging those, then the recording is on our website now. If you go onto the homepage, just below the opening picture, there's a red button. Click on that, and then you can watch that training session. So it's about an hour long, but hopefully that's probably the easiest way of us answering a lot of the questions that we've had coming in about where the next opportunities are in property development, because it's quite a big subject, and we wanted to do it justice. So please do dive onto that and take a look.
Yeah, and interestingly, Yoko's asked a question. Yoko, that question would be answered on that. Yoko's asked, what would you think about the high street, the change of the high street after COVID-19, shutters going up or not? That's exactly the type of question that's answered on that session. The only downside is I've recorded it, so you're gonna have to listen to me for an hour. But it really does go into a huge amount of detail about you know, what's happening out there, you know, what the opportunities are. It also, for those that are wondering, you know, what about development? How can I do it? We go into that as well a little bit in there as well. So that's hopefully quite useful. Good stuff. Hands up if you've enjoyed the show today, please. Hands up if you enjoy what we are still doing every day. Not every day, every Saturday. Excellent. Everyone's hands up. So look, guys, we're getting great response from this, which is really good. People seem to like what we're doing. Had a number of personal one-to-one calls with people this week. Just people that we know who are saying, great, keep up the good work. I've had some messages on social media. We'd like to get out to more people. So I don't know if you guys are up for a bit of a challenge. Let's try and get out to more people. We want to help more people. and there's quite a lot. I mean, you know, Richard was saying earlier, there's a lot of stuff out there, and that's obviously a challenge. But I think there's a lot of rubbish as well, from what I'm hearing. Just a lot of chit chat. Hopefully, what people have said to us is that we're giving really good, serious, straightforward, honest answers to information and questions that you guys are asking, which is good, and we appreciate that. That means a lot to us. So really, if there's anyone else out there that you know that would like this, you think could benefit from this, that they could be into property, they could be into business, they might just need a little bit of a boost, you know, on a Saturday morning or a Tuesday evening, please invite them along. So our challenge is to, you know, let's increase the numbers. It's good for us. It's great if there's more people on. It's going to be a bit of fun. We can reach more people. So, you know, if you're up for it, my challenge to you guys is bring a friend. No, don't just bring your mum or your friend down the road, but someone who genuinely you think, and I know you all know people in property, so if there's someone you genuinely think could benefit just from the upbeat, no nonsense, no sales, nice, good quality information on a Saturday morning and again on a Tuesday night at 7, please invite them along to the next session, ask them to register. We do have limited places, but we've still got quite a lot of capacity. We've upped our capacity on GoToMeeting to try and reach out to more people, so we're not going to, hopefully we don't have to shut anyone out. So yeah, we'd love to get more on and reach out and help more people. So please, yeah, if you can invite a friend, let's do that. That'd be great, guys. It's just come up to 10 o'clock, so we really ought to be finishing off. So apologies if we haven't answered your questions that's coming in the week. We'll roll some of them over to Tuesday, so please come back and see us Tuesday at 7 o'clock. We'll try and get a guest in next week. The training for that subject is fantastic, Yoko said. Yeah, Yoko, hope you enjoy it. That's good. Ritesh says, can we have Carol Vorderman on soon to do the numbers? Maybe. Thanks, guys. Yvonne says she'll share it and get some friends along. Yvonne, thanks. That's great. What's the title of the web show again? Dominic's asking. We don't know what the new title of the web show is yet, but we'll tell you in due course, Dominic.
Competition closes early next week.
Yeah, Trish says, thank you very much. Thanks for your time, guys. Informative session. Have a great weekend. Yeah, you guys have a great weekend. Thanks, chaps. Enjoy the weekend. Have a lovely weekend, Alicia. Have a lovely weekend yourself and to Dell. Will says, great. Thanks. Great session. Bye for now. Goodbye, everyone. Enjoy your weekend. See you Tuesday.
See you next week. Take care. Bye.